Hello and welcome to the I Love Me Lab show. My name is Gail Buck, and I'm an NLP Master Life Coach, meditation instructor, and a seeker of happiness. And each week, we're going to bring you an inspiring person or message to help you discover additional ways of self-care, self-love, and becoming a healthier, happier you. So thanks for spending time with us today, and let's let the show begin. Hey, everybody, and welcome to the I Love Me Lab podcast. And I'm so excited to be here today. Leks Vucko is back with us today. Hello. Thank you for being here.
Hey, good to be here.
Yeah. And if you haven't caught it, she was on an earlier episode, and I'll put that in the show notes because I should have checked it before. But Leks is a master coach for the Vucko Method, correct?
Yes.
And I was just telling her that I was like trolling her a little bit ago and looking through her website, and it's like amazing. And her testimonials and her, you when you were a bodybuilder, you still are. You're just in amazing shape. And so, right off the bat, I'm going to invite you all to visit the vuckomethod.com and just take a peek because it's amazing.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Yeah. And for those of you that don't know Leks, she has 20 years experience in sports and fitness. She's has been a bodybuilder, kickboxing, weightlifting, diet, nutrition. And I wrote something that you've turned more recently, or maybe for a while now, to the power of the mind, right? And helping people and yourself to push to limits. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Sure. I think that anybody who's either ever attempted to work out or had some kind of a workout routine knows that it influences your mind so much. It makes you mentally stronger, right? Like you get so used to pushing beyond. If I did that workout, there's nothing I can't do. And it gives you this really great feeling of feeling strong. And when I had the fitness studio years ago in Nashville, that was one of the things that was huge. Like I would train women who would come in and say, I want to get thinner, I want to lose weight, I want to tone up, whatever the initial goal was. Then when they start working out, they're totally sold on this idea of like, oh my God, I feel strong. There is no better feeling than this. And then with me, with my story in bodybuilding and learning about food and our relationship with food, I actually ended up developing a binging disorder after bodybuilding competitions. And it really taught me a huge lesson, which is it's really not always all mindset, which was a huge lesson for me because I really love self-improvement, anything to do with mind, anything to do with brain and habits and why we do things we do and why don't we do things we should do and all of that stuff, the whole neurohacking. So after I developed the binging disorder, I realized, hey, it's not just all in my head because I have more willpower. I know I have more willpower than this, but I cannot get myself in control. So what's happening? That's when it became very evident to me that our relationship with food goes way deeper than, first of all, just diet and exercise. And second of all, it's not just, well, I know I need to change the way I think and approach things. It's all of it together. It's a combination of things, but it's our relationship with food, I would say, is completely sacred because we cannot survive without food, right? So our relationship with food goes way deeper. In the moment people start getting too hungry, a certain hormone kicks in, and it starts really taking over your body and your mind. And this is something that people don't talk about enough. What often happens is people carry guilt and shame over their food choices, over the fact that they're still overeating or whatever it is. And the truth is we need to talk about these things more because we should eliminate that guilt and shame because you can understand, hey, you're not the only one going through this. Hey, it doesn't mean you failed. There's nothing wrong with you. Then we can talk about that in detail,
That's super interesting because I really hadn't thought of that perspective before. But I know for me personally, for example, I mean, I'm working out a little bit, should be working out more and, working on losing more weight. And I will eat something that was not in my plan for the day. And even before I eat it, I think I really shouldn't eat that. But then I do anyway. And then at night, I go to bed and I'm turning it over in my head. It's like I'm guilting myself and abusing myself mentally
Yeah.
because of that. So that ties into our relationship. How interesting. I hadn't thought of it that way.
Yeah, that goes even a whole lot step deeper because if you think the way we were raised, parents were always punishing us or, reprimanding us for not doing something right. So when
Mhm.
we through that kind of developed this sense of having to do things the right way. School teaches you the same thing, right? You got to do it the right way or you have failed. And so we go through life growing up thinking I either do it the right way or I have failed. But it's really not like that. The world is too colorful to put
Mm.
that straight of a line on it. So what happens with food, especially the whole diet industry has taught people, hey, here's a diet plan. You have to follow it. And then when people don't follow it because it's too strict and they feel restricted or deprived and don't understand that primary relationship that we have with food, they carry guilt and shame. Now, what happens when we have guilt and shame over our food choices, we actually activate the reward center in our brain, meaning we have a need to immediately reward ourselves, which is why you eat that one cookie and you feel guilty, and then you go for the second
You need
cookie and for
another
the
one.
third, and it's so on, and it becomes a catch-22. So just eliminating guilt and shame can stop that cycle of
So
having to eat more.
So let's consider also an additional twist on that, just that I'm thinking through this right now. So when, for example, I grab that cookie or, peanut butter sandwich or whatever it might be, and because I shouldn't, like, I think that word is such a powerful word that should be eliminated from our thought process and our vocabulary. So maybe for me and maybe for others, even grabbing that thing that I shouldn't is kind of like a mind thing, right? Because I shouldn't do it, so I'm going to do it anyway. And so then I get all this guilt for myself. I mean, if I could eliminate, I'm wondering as I'm just working through this as we're talking, if I could take away the should from my head, would I just not grab it? Because there's no should or shouldn't. I can eat if I want and don't if I don't. And
Yes. And that's what I teach my clients. It's actually a matter of choice. You feel this is why diet plans don't work. If I give you a diet plan, I'm telling you how to eat. You right away feel disempowered. And if someone puts your favorite cookie or cheesecake in front of you, you go, oh, I can't have that. You can't have that, which means I want it, but I can't have it because someone else made the decision for me. But what if instead you make that conscious choice and you say, well, do I want this cookie right now or not? You make that conscious choice. Whether you have it or not, you feel better about it. Because if I want it, I'm going to have it and enjoy it. And so there's no guilt and shame. And I'm willing to deal with consequences, which could be, I don't know, gluten sensitivity or whatever it is, like inflammation of the body. But then I can choose not to have it. And then I'll feel great about that too. So just making that conscious choice empowers me to say, I can have that if I want to. Do I really want it or not? And that's when we feel empowered because I'm making a decision for me as opposed to someone else who's trying to tell me how I need to eat. Anybody can get super fit eating broccoli and chicken breast, right? So you can get a meal plan that's going to show you 12 weeks of one kind of variation of that, right? It's going to be plain chicken breast and broccoli, and you're going to look fantastic. That's how I got the six pack. That's how I competed.
is that how you got your six pack? Because I'm actually writing that down. I'm writing it down because I know, and I'm not like chick stalking or anything, but I am going to print that picture of you and hang it up because it's so inspirational. It is like, do I want the cookie or do I want this? Which do I want? Right? Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
why I still use it for marketing, but I'm very vocal about the effects of it because I don't believe we should chase the six pack. We should chase what's healthiest and best version of my body because my body is my vehicle that I need to run at an optimal level for hopefully a very long time. So when I want to eat, and this is the trick, like the fitness industry is like, well, you just eat because it's good for you. And, you just get bored with that food. You can't. Again, our relationship with food is deeper than that. This is why people go to binging because they felt so deprived. But if I choose things and if I think, what can I give my body now to give it the best nutrients possible, then I'm going to operate on a different level. And I do that daily. Like if I have, a meeting coming up and I didn't eat yet, I'll go, okay, I still want to do it at a fasted state because I know that's going to make me feel more focused, for example. You also kind of throughout time, if you get in tune with your body, you start learning how you feel after eating certain foods, right? And that's when you make more of those powerful conscious choices later on, because you'll be like, I just don't want to have that cookie. Like, I know how it makes me feel and it's just not worth it. Now, does that mean never having cookies? No. The best solution is really creating your own, or using some kind that actually has really healthy, good ingredients. So you get to enjoy the food and nurture your body. That's a win-win.
Yeah. And I think what you said also, really being conscious and being in tune with, depending on what you eat, but also your sleep and all the other things, right? But what you're putting into your body, it's not just, I'm going to eat this cookie and I'm going to gain weight, but it also can create in some of us, inflammation and other things that might make you more cloudy. If you have a podcast to do or something else where you want to be, at your best, are you going to be at your best depending on what you eat or drink, things like that, right? So really paying attention to what it is and what's your body's response.
I want to offer an image here that people can paint for themselves. This is one thing that I actually do remember from school. And that's the way the energy works. So one thing from the law of physics states the energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can only be transformed from one form to the other. So if you think of the sun shining on the earth, giving the plants the energy, it transfers the energy to the plants, of course, the rain as well. And then the plants grow and we eat the products that the plants give us, right? The fruits and the veggies and whatnot. Or we eat the meat from the animals that hopefully, as nature gave us, ate the grass or off the earth. So that's how we get energy in our body for our cells to do the functions that they need. And then that energy transforms into whether it's physical workout, thinking and creating, and so on and so on. Now, if you think of processed foods, there's no such process of energy transfer. This is why there's an inflammation. This is why there's a disruption in the energy flow, is because the processed foods doesn't give us the natural energy that we're supposed to get from the sun, right? It's been processed, it's been produced, and it's also new to our body. For millions of years, people ate meats, seeds, nuts, veggies, and fruits. And all of a sudden, we have all these chemicals we're putting in our body. So right away, the body does start fighting it. It creates inflammation. And people think, aches and pains and twinges, things like that, they think that they're normal and they learn to live with them chronically when they're not. Now, you combine that with a mental and emotional state of a person where if we don't express our emotions and we suppress our emotions, they typically get stored in the places of previous injury or somewhere around the body. This is why people, have a chronic knee pain, have a chronic liver pain, whatever it is, and they think that it's actually normal, but it's really in the thoughts, in the emotions, and also in our environment and the food that we eat.
Wow. So oftentimes if we're eating a lot of processed foods and things like that, so we have all these aches and pains, and it's hard for us to get up when we get up in the morning. And I do not, thank goodness. But when we do, it's because we are putting a lot of processed food in our body, which is causing inflammation, which is causing that. And maybe simply by cleaning up our diet, which means just eating real food, we can lose some of those aches and pains. And I say we because most of my audience, I would say, are women and 45 years on up. And so you start having a lot of these issues, right? And as I've come back to where I grew up and I'm reconnecting with old friends and things like that, and I find friends that are having different health issues or having, challenges with losing weight and aches and pains, and maybe just an adjustment of their diet would help.
It could be, it could very well be diet. I have a client who had arthritis, and her first belief was, well, my mom had it, so I have it. I said, well, let's work around that and let's focus on getting gluten-free. And I had her go gluten-free and dairy-free to test out how she's feeling. And her pain was gone. And she's like, I never thought that my arthritis can be gone. And then this was last year. So she had a Christmas party and her family came over and they had typical Christmas foods, which was inflammatory foods, unfortunately. And right away she goes, I know, here it is. My joints are starting to ache again. And she knew right away it was directly from the food. So
well, what a gift, right? Because now she was able to be free of that for a while, and then
Yes.
change her diet. And it's like, oh my gosh, it is that,
And
right?
now she listens to her body as opposed to, hey, that's my mom and it's genetics, to say, hey, wait a minute, I actually have control over this. So I
Hmm.
don't have to live in aches and pains and take Advil or whatever they take every day. You know, people take different things for pains. And so, also when I had back pain, I ate right, I exercised, but I had back pain. Then through meditation, I healed it because it actually turns out it was stuck emotions in my body. And that's
Yeah.
why I believe it's not just the mind, it's everything working together. But we have to understand that we actually have more power to control ourselves and to control our environment than we actually think. For years, scientists believe that genetics plays such a huge part in how we're going to end up being, how our health is going to be. Now they know it's less than 5%. So we have control over 95% of how
Wow.
we live. That's a huge
That's huge.
amount of power in our hands.
So it's interesting because I will turn 65 in December, in a couple of months. And I don't feel like that. I don't think I look like that. I
You
feel great. I
don't.
never really think about my age at all
Yep.
until I do sit and have dinner or whatever. I'm around other people that are my age. And oftentimes there's conversation about, well, when you get to be our age, or when we get to be old, and it's like, what is that? How much of that mindset causes them to not feel their
Yep.
best, or to feel that they can't learn technology, or that they're slowed down and they can't run up that hill anymore? What it's, I think so much of that is, why are we having that
Yeah.
conversation about when you get to be our age, when we're
Well,
only in our 60s? Because I think that's still very
exactly.
young.
That is so true. So
Yeah.
that part is very much mindset, because it's, once again, we'll live our beliefs. So if someone keeps hearing, oh, things start hurting and aching with age, falling apart, you hear that and you're growing up going, oh, well, that's going to happen. And if you think about it, like, mathematically, this makes no sense. You hear people saying, the moment I turn 30, the moment I turn 40, the moment I turn 50, right? Like, it's always this 50 or 40, and it's like always, and I'm like, how is it that nature knows math, that it's like every 10 years? It's just in our heads that we create
You lose
these.
another limb, or another part
Yeah.
of your body. Yeah.
Yeah. But then again, you have to fight through that, because if you're surrounded with people who believe that, and now you're proposing this idea of like, no, you don't have to feel that way,
No.
people are not necessarily open to it. And another thing about that is, there's something as chronological age, which is your age of turning 65, but
Hmm.
there's the biological age, which is how old your body believes that it is. So
Yeah.
you could be 65 chronologically, but biologically you could be 30. This is why many people at whatever age say, I don't feel a certain age. I'm 40 right now, and I mean, I think 40 is young, but I don't even feel like age matters at all. Like, I don't put
Yeah.
a belief to the number there anymore, right? Like,
Hmm.
I just choose to live until I take my last breath. And so that's why, but I had to work through this, because society does say things like that. You hear that all the time. You see it on TV, you see commercials, you see it and hear it everywhere. And of course, it can get into your subconscious mind. That's where we have to be consciously choosing what our belief is going to be. And
Yeah.
that's when we also search for the evidence of the contrary, right? So your brain is going to give you more of what you believe or what you are searching to see. So if I'm seeking to see how age is affecting people in a negative way, I'm going to see that. But if I start saying, wait a minute, no, I think there's 80-year-olds there going skiing, I'm going to find 80-year-olds going
Yes.
skiing, and I'm going to say,
Right.
well, there you go. We confirmed my belief. It's true. You
Right.
can live. You should
Right.
live until the
Right.
last breath.
Well, I agree. And there are a lot of perks to getting older. I mean, there's,
Oh, yeah.
there's healthcare gets cheaper and better. There's the discounts at the stores and at the restaurants. So there's
Yeah.
actually a lot of little perks to doing
Yes.
that, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. And the main one, you really stop caring what other people think.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Hopefully. Hopefully. You
Hopefully.
really do. Yeah. Hopefully you do.
Yeah.
So let's talk about, which is also seems to be a reoccurring theme for a lot of women, 45 plus is the belly fat. And I think that you did some YouTubes or some articles on cortisol and belly fat. So can we
Yeah.
speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, so I did the video the other day on TikTok and YouTube, where I said, people ask, how do I lose belly fat? And one thing is the stress levels. So when we are at a stress state for a long time, we're not meant to be living like that. We're meant to have a stressful moment, deal with it, right? Like if a lion jumps out at me, right? In nature, that's how our brain still perceives things. And then I go back to the village, I can tell everybody this story and it's fine, right? So you fight, or hopefully not freeze, but that's kind of the choices you have. So what happens nowadays, we live in a very stressed state all the time. So cortisol level gets raised up and stays raised up. And that's why I was saying cortisol got a bad rep as a quote unquote bad hormone because it puts the belly fat on. But simply, it's a hormone to let us know, well, it's doing many other things in the body, but if we have belly fat that we cannot get rid of and we can evaluate that our stress level is high, it's a way our body's telling us, hey, you kind of need to lower your stress level here. That goes with sleep too. People don't think of lack of sleep as stress, but it's very stressful in the body. There's something called a healthy stress, which is workouts, which is, things like that are actually battering your body because it's getting stronger through resting. And so when cortisol is rise for a long time, it can leave belly fat around, on the whole core area, really, whether it's, what we call love handles or belly. So that's a big thing is cortisol. Now, again, we're getting to talk about the age and hormones where people have very diverse and very different opinions on the hormones and what changes in the body. My belief is, yes, things change for women in 40s and 50s, but kind of like when we entered puberty, it's a change of the body. It shouldn't come with so many things happening to us. So we should experience a change happening, but it shouldn't be that hard to get through it. Women should not have crazy hot flashes and real serious issues sleeping, things like that. That's when we can look into environment and say, what's the sleep quality? What's your nutrition like? Are you doing any resistance training and things like that? Like, can you lower stress in different ways so that the body can go into balance? So that's why I was mentioning cortisol. There are other hormones that can play a part, but cortisol is a big one when it comes to belly fat. And speaking of that, that is a myth, like, just do crunches, every day. And there's no such thing as spot reduction. But if you start looking at your body as to what is my body trying to tell me, what is my body communicating with me, you'll be able to start finding answers. And everybody's individual, right? Like I had a client years ago, she was given those hormone patches under her skin. And it was horrible. She started growing hair on her face and she felt
Or she
horrible.
was doing testosterone, probably testosterone patch or pellets.
No, it was the palate. That's right. That's the term. It was the palate. It was a mixture of different hormones. And, at that time, I mean, this was years ago. I hope they changed all that since, but it was one size fits all. So now you can go to a doctor, you can go to functional medicine practitioner, you can say, okay, let me go with what works for my body. Because everybody really is. Yes, we're all humans. Yes, we all have the same components, but beneath it all, we are also all different.
Yeah. So I also see an alternative medicine doctor, and I actually, for me, like a little testosterone and a little estrogen patches works wonders. I mean, it just totally, I don't know, like took a cloud away, and freshened me up, and yeah.
And there you go. But you went to the person that was listening to you, went
sure. And they're looking at they're measuring your everything, all your blood work and your food allergies and putting together a whole plan, so that they know for you, right? It's not just one size fits all.
Yes. And that's where I think slowly medicine is moving. But I think it's very important, especially for women, to say, if something doesn't feel right and you go to a doctor and you don't feel heard, find another doctor. Because when you know something doesn't feel right and you know something's off, you should feel better, listen to that.
Yes, absolutely. Working out. So And I'm not talking about having a bodybuilder body, but having a healthy body. How many times a week do you think somebody should work out? Or again, is it just an individual thing?
My preference is three times a week, because that way I'm giving my body rest every other day.
Mm.
That doesn't mean I'm sitting down doing nothing any other day. But like, I'll go out to the beach with my son and play ball, and let me tell you, that kid works me out. That's no joke. So I incorporate different activities in my lifestyle so that I still stay somewhat active as opposed to sitting down. But doing resistance training 3 times a week is sufficient for most people. I always say start easy, start doing a routine 3 times a week. Like, I have clients who don't work out that I start them off on literally doing 10 squats 3 times a week in a day. And because, for one, we have to start getting into a habit of showing up for ourselves. Oh,
Yeah.
okay, I'm going to show up for myself. I'm going to do these 10 squats, right? And we have to make it super easy in order to implement a new habit. If I say, well, I got to go to the gym and there's going to be too many people there and I don't know where I'm going to take a shower, that's already too many ways a brain can
Right.
talk
And
you
it's
out
going
of
to
it.
take me this long to get there and this long to come
Yep.
back. And so,
To come
yes, it's
back,
going to take too much
exactly.
time today. Yeah.
Right. So make it really, really simple. This is why I actually have the online membership where we do live workouts, where you're like, hey, just turn on, do a workout and be done. You're already at home. That way you don't have to, figure out when, how, where. You just get it done. And
So tell me about, and I don't mean to interrupt you, but it's actually about this. Tell me about the Vucko method.
yeah, that's the membership that I have started. I ran a couple of groups through it, and I started it. I had a start date and an end date. And that was really great to give me an idea of how the flow goes and everything. And we were really, really, I was so happy with results. I mean, almost, and it's funny because they'll tell you it was almost effortless because you implement small things at a time that you can handle. And so I developed this method called the Vucko Method, where we do address the workouts. And the idea is we're bettering our body through a workout, not beating it up, right? So you don't have to go to a gym for 2 hours and beat your body up. You just have to do it in such a way that you are challenging yourself a little bit more than last time. We look into sleep, we look into nutrition, we look into hydration. And when I say nutrition, for example, I'm talking about what we talked about, the conscious eating, being present when I'm eating, choosing for myself what I'm going to eat to nurture my body, focusing on health versus my body image, and all these things fall in place. And so that's the thing about workouts is, people are surprised. Our workouts are about 30 minutes long, and they are 3 times a week that we recommend that people do. And again, that doesn't mean you don't do anything for the rest of the time, but you can slowly start incorporating things. It's one of those things that, I hear people say, well, I know I need to change my whole lifestyle. And that actually sounds really freaky for our brain. Like, I don't even know what that means. I don't know how that's going to look like. So if you just start incorporating small changes, like showing up for a quick workout and doing something, right? Again, I'm starting to show up for myself, which internally tells me subconsciously, I am important. I actually do matter, because we show up for things that we think are important. So when we don't show up for ourselves, we're diminishing ourselves and our self-worth in our own eyes. So when we start showing up for ourselves in such a way that we can maintain that for a long time, then the body naturally wants to move more and is starting to kind of almost like wake up after all these years, because the body does want to be active. It loves the workout. It feels really great for every cell of the body to move, for the brain too. It's the brain function as well, for the blood flow to change, for the hormones to stay stabilized. For antidepressant, it's like number one antidepressant is exercise. But I think people get caught up in this idea of having to go to the gym and doing everything all at once, and going to all the machines at the gym. And it's like, let's not complicate it. Do 10
Yeah, and
squats.
maybe also sometimes it's failing to see the whole, like you just said, the whole overall picture. It's not just I need to lose 10 pounds or 15 pounds so that I fit into my jeans. It's living a healthier life, and it's feeling better and having your head be more clear, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
being able to fit into those jeans and looking really good when you look into the mirror, right?
Yeah,
So
and
you feel
that
better.
totally comes because the body stops fighting this resistance. Like, it can just literally release the body fat. And that's what happens every time. I always tell my clients, It's not about the weight, even though they show up and they're like, oh, I gained a few pounds. I want to lose weight. I want to tone up, whatever it is. And what I tell them is this: would you rather, if nothing was to change at all, if you were to stay the same weight forever, wouldn't you rather be happier? And they're like, yeah. And one of my clients was like, yeah, I don't want to get skinny and stay miserable. And I said, yeah, so you see, it's actually not about the weight. It's about how you feel about yourself. So when you focus on your health and you focus on how you feel every day, the body is going to go in balance. It's the diet culture that makes people go, oh, I want instant gratification. I need to lose 15 pounds in 3 days, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that's very interesting. And if you were to tie this into, the I Love Me Lab and self-love and self-care and things like that, how would you do that?
Well, that's exactly what it is.
What we're
It
talking
is
about, right?
about, yeah, it's about showing up for ourselves, showing care for ourselves. We
Mhm.
tend not to show care for ourselves, right?
No, we
I
do for
come
everybody
last.
else.
We
Yeah,
did for
everybody else
everybody else.
first.
I
Yeah.
come last. And that's
Mhm.
another thing that we should probably address. And that's when we say showing up for yourself and putting yourself first, that doesn't mean, well, I just get to do whatever I want to do and everybody else can come later. No, it just means paying attention to your needs. You have a need to work out. You have a need to take care of yourself, right? Maybe you have a need to work on your self-worth because you have not been taking care of yourself because you've been taking care of everybody else. But when we start focusing on ourselves and giving ourselves enough attention to start telling ourselves internally we matter, that's the self-care that grows into self-love. And
Yeah.
that's when we can spread that love like a candle lighting other candles. It's just
Yeah.
spreading. It's not coming from a place of sacrifice, because sacrifice means I have to take from me to give to you. And over time, that causes really, really negative emotions because I feel left out. I feel like
Right.
I gave everything and then I automatically expect something back. But
And
when I give
sometimes we
from a
feel
given
more empty, right? Rather than
empty, depleted,
feeling more full.
yeah.
Yes.
And if we don't know how to stop and recover, we're going to keep taking from that emptiness, which
Mhm.
totally creates resentment. But if I feel fulfilled and I'm given from a giving heart, then I just want to keep spreading love. So I
Yeah.
think that totally goes with your message.
So dieting mistakes that most people make, like, and I know that for you it's and I believe that and agree with that as well. Everybody's kind of individual, but there's a lot of talk about fruit. I'm a fruit grower's daughter, right? But sometimes it's like fruit is out of vogue right now because of all the sugars in fruit. My father, he lived till 91 and he ate fruit every single day of his life because he thought that was important. So what are your feelings about fruit, for example?
So I always go to simplicity, meaning how did humans live for millions of years? They ate fruit. They
Mhm.
probably ate a lot of fruit.
Mhm.
Um, Now, if you were to just extract the sugar out of the fruit, then it behaves the same way as any other sugar in the body. So it does spike the insulin. It does all these kinds of things. This is why juices in general are not healthy either. But smoothies, for example, are healthier because what you're doing, you're blending a piece of fruit. So you're maintaining the water and the fiber that it has and all the other nutrients that it has. The fiber is the key player here. Fiber slows down the absorption of sugar, which makes it totally okay for us to eat it. It's the lack of fiber in the processed foods that also doesn't give us the feeling of satiety, which is why we overeat typically the processed foods. So if we were all to focus on the fiber intake, and I don't necessarily want to talk about supplements, I'm not big on that because fiber is actually all around us in nature if we focus on it. So eating fruits and veggies, it's already giving us a completely different effect. So as far as I'm concerned, eat all the fruit you want because we naturally just cannot really overeat to the level that it's damaging for us when we eat the real food. Like again, I always give this example. You don't eat a mango and go, "Oh, I have to have 9 more mangoes or I'm going to die," right? Like, but we
Right.
have that feeling when we eat a cookie. You eat a mango, you may be having enough room in your belly for another mango, but that's about it, right?
Yeah,
Like
my mouth is
that's
watering. My mouth is watering. I
there you
love
go.
mangoes.
Maybe we're gonna have a fruit salad after this. But
There you
that's the
go.
thing. Like, how many kiwis can you eat at once? How many apples can you eat at once? You cannot really overeat the real food because of the water, but it also because of that fiber. So once again, extracting the sugar out of the fruit, same as any other sugar, keeping it in the fruit form, go for it. Fantastic.
So why is it? I hadn't thought about that before, but why is it that you'll have a piece of fruit or maybe you'll have two? But you could sit down, or some people can sit down and eat a bag of Oreo cookies with milk, for example, that has nothing good in there for you.
That
And even
is
the dairy is
such a
questionable,
great
right? So,
question.
yeah. So
That
why
is
is
such a
that?
great question. Well, for one, processed foods takes fiber out of it because you are going to consume more if you don't have fiber in it. Two, obviously it's dehydrated. Like I don't think I've ever seen much processed foods that's really hydrated like an apple is, right? Or like watermelon is. The water and the fiber makes us feel full. There's also a whole bunch of things that happen in the body. Every piece of food that we eat is like a piece of code for the body. Just like zeros and ones are for the computer, every piece of food that we eat gives information to the body, what it's getting out of it, how to store it, what to do with it, how to apply it. Like it's got a whole set of things. So the hormones that give us the feeling of feeling full don't kick in when we're eating processed foods. It's also done by scientists. I think they're food scientists. I'm not sure which exact scientists they are. Maybe something to do with chemistry, but they actually truly look into the texture and our taste buds and how we react to certain foods. And again, the whole goal is for you to want to have more of it and more of it and more of it. And that's why I want everybody who's watching and listening to this to pay attention next time you eat something processed. Pay attention to the aftertaste and pay attention to your body, how it starts wanting to grab more of it. And that's why I believe in making your own and going back to nature and again, getting fruits and veggies and things that are natural to us. You cannot overeat. You cannot. And again, the food, think of the texture. Like next time you have a cookie, just that texture makes you want to have more of it. It's designed that way so that you go again and buy again and buy again, and you stay a lifetime customer. And yeah, you cannot overeat. Like how much fruit can you eat? If you eat 2 bananas, like it's just like it's hard to eat a third one. It's impossible. And so people, in the whole diet culture has people focused on calories and counting calories and going into calorie deficit. Sure, if you look at math, that's right, but our bodies are not just math. So when you're talking about a calorie deficit, all you really want to do is focus on healthy ingredients. Make your own cookie at home with the healthy ingredients, and you're going to react to it completely differently than you do to a store-bought one. This is why you have so many additives in the food, to preserve the freshness, blah, blah, blah. Sure, but it's also to make us eat more of it.
I have a friend that I actually met at a meditation retreat in India, but she has, I think it's called Revive World. You can find her on Instagram. And she's she's actually a chef for a professional ball team. And she would only
Nice.
take that job if she could shift them away from the hot dogs and the bratwursts. And she'll be a guest soon.
Can't
But if
wait.
she could shift them away from this junk food and get them to eat real food. And I love her Instagram because it just makes your mouth water. I mean, instead of eating a cookie, she'll have like a date with maybe a piece of cheese in it or
Oh,
something like that, but
yes.
turning to natural sugars for
Yep.
that sugar bump that you might desire, and
Yep.
just
My
really
go-to.
eating real food. Yeah.
Yeah. The go-to things that I always tell my clients, like dates, mashed bananas. You can mash bananas and make cookies out of it. Local honey. I do
Mm,
sometimes raisins. Like those are all the things that are completely natural to us. And again, completely different body effect from even if you overeat dates, it's a completely different effect than you overeat cookies,
right.
even if the
Now you
calories are the same.
Yeah. Yes, they have a lot of calories, but your body reacts
Different.
differently.
Yeah.
You have, I don't know if you have is it a cookbook or recipes on
I have a
your
recipe
website?
book. Yeah, I have a
Recipe
recipe
book.
book.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I would encourage anybody who's curious or wants to like get some recipes for some really good food to go to the Vucko, and that's Vucko, right?
Yep. Yep.
Method.com. And you can put your information in there and get the recipe book. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Email me, message me as well. And if you want a sample, I'll have you pick a recipe and I'll show you what I got. It's really simple stuff. It's just me wanting to eat, cookies and desserts and things like that, but showing it doing it in a different way for my body. And it's again like things with mashed bananas and dates and raisins and stuff like that again, like you can overeat those cookies and you're gonna feel great. Like it's just
Yeah.
you just do.
So I'm curious what's ahead for you. So I know that you live with your husband and your son in
Yep.
Panama, right? So you're
Yep.
by the beautiful water, and I see
Yes.
some scenes that you play that are just beautiful. You have this beautiful business that you've created for yourself, helping people to get healthy, to get
Yes.
strong, and to get healthy. And what is in your what are you seeing for yourself?
So I am really right now focused on growing this business because my idea is to help as many people as I can.
Hmm.
And I think this membership is the just the perfect place for it because I can feel like I'm truly serving people and giving
Yeah.
back. As far as the personal life, I will like Panama right now. We're going to stay here for a while. I'm going to homeschool my kids. So that's going to allow us even more options to kind of travel and move around. Um, I, I thought about that actually not too long ago because every once in a while I'm like, what is it that I want? Right? Because if we create the pictures of the images of the future, that's what's going to happen for us. And honestly, I just want everything in my personal life to stay as is because everything is right as is. And I just want to focus on growing this business. Where we're going to go from here, I don't know. We may stay here for years. We may end up traveling. I don't know. It really
You have your
depends on.
gypsy shoes on, your gypsy
Yeah,
boots on. Yeah.
for
Yeah.
real.
Yeah.
It's one of those tricky things where I want to give my son stability to, be able to have friends and he does here. But at the same time, I don't want to be tied to one place if we can explore the world and have him see different parts of the world and how different people live, because that's really one of the reasons why I want to homeschool him so that he can have the ability to see and experience many things that you can't
Sure.
if you're in one
And the
place.
growth and experiencing different peoples and different lands and different
Yeah.
foods and all these things is
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah, learning
Yeah.
from different cultures. I would love to go and live with monks for like a few months with my family. I would love to find like where people like indigenous people live in South, Central, and even maybe even North America, where they can we can stay with them. Like what kind of
Oh
experience would
yeah.
that be?
Yeah.
I love connecting to nature. That's definitely soothing my soul, which is why it feels good to be close to the water.
Yeah. Now you're a meditator too as well. Yes?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, we do that in the membership as well. Meditations are very misunderstood. People think, oh, I can't just sit there and have no thoughts, but that's really why they call it a practice. And the goal is not necessarily not to have any thoughts. The goal is to be aware of the thoughts that we have, so we can end up choosing the ones we want. Because 60 to 70,000 thoughts a day is what we have, and 95% of those are subconscious. So we really
Mhm.
don't know what we're thinking about all day. But
Right.
if we start being aware of that, we can start choosing more positive, more thoughts that align with us, and really through that change our life. Because that's when we can also dig into and find our limiting beliefs.
Yeah.
And that's when people can feel stuck if they are living the same reality over and over again. And then when they discover, oh, that's my limiting belief, well, let me just change that. And they work on that. It
And guess
changes
what? I'm
everything.
stuck because I'm choosing that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I actually you had a little reel or YouTube something that I shared on my social media because I liked it a lot,
Thank
and it
you.
was something to the effect of if you don't if you don't like where you are right now, guess what, you're choosing it or something like that.
Yeah, you got to change
Yeah.
it. You have to change it. And there's thoughts, emotions, and actions. And yes, actions are what matters the most because you have to take action. Nothing changes without the action. However, if you're taking the action and getting the same results over and over and over again, it's time to look into thoughts and emotions. And that's really how we change. If we were just taught that everything starts from us, that's what we have to like relearn this at, whatever age we're at. But when we are willing to take responsibility for ourselves and how we view the world, just everything changes. That's what happened to me, and that's why I want to serve the world in the way that I can, so that I can show that to everybody, like you can change everything.
Yeah. And it doesn't matter what age you are. It doesn't have an
No,
age on it. It doesn't matter if you're, 65,
nothing
75,
matters.
85, 95,
No,
125. It doesn't matter.
it doesn't matter. Yeah, you
Yeah.
can change it anytime. And that's the thing when you mention, 65, some people think, oh, that's the retirement age. Well, realistically, if you think about it, living to 100 these days is very realistic.
Yeah.
So we're talking another 35 years.
Yes.
That's the good amount of time
Yeah.
to even start a
Definitely,
new
definitely
business.
25 to 30 where you're, if you're taking care of yourself, 25 to
Yeah.
30 where you're still very physically active and your mind is really sharp and you have,
Yeah.
high energy.
30 years can be a whole new career. 30 years can be a whole nother business. 30 years can be a whole nother lifestyle, lifetime. It's just, we limit ourselves again because of the things we hear. And it's
Mhm.
like, wait a minute, I have all this time ahead, actually.
What
What
do I
do I
want to
want to do with it?
create? Right.
Yeah.
So it's never too late to start over.
No, never,
Yeah.
never.
So I'm going to put the link in the show notes for the vuckomethod.com because I think it's absolutely beautiful. Do you mind talking, in case anybody's interested, do you mind talking about the cost of it or any of the details about that
Sure.
right now?
It's a flat rate right now of 147 a month. That includes the live coaching, live workouts, live meditations, live stretching sessions, a 30-minute complimentary coaching session so that we tailor things down to the person. There's a course included with it. The cooking classes, live cooking classes too, where we pick a recipe for the week. Everybody goes grocery shopping for themselves, and then we
Oh, how fun.
and cook together. And there's more fun things coming. That's the cost right now. I am having in October, depending on when people are listening to this, in October 22, I'm having a 1 month, 30-day challenge to jumpstart people on their way to success, to show them really why this works and why this is different as well. And yeah, that's it for right now. I'm probably going to end up adding a few more options for people to have, like if they want just the workouts or if they want more coaching. But this is it for right now, until I get, build that community, right? Like that's really what I'm after, is building that community of women who want to feel empowered, who want to feel great about their bodies, who want to feel healthy and happy. That's really
Right.
my goal.
No, that's beautiful. And also, you can be found on all the social medias. We'll post them
Hmm.
in the show notes as well as
Awesome.
YouTube. You've got some really great
Yeah.
videos on YouTube
Thank
as
you.
well.
Thank
So
you.
before we go, my final question is, and you've shared, everything you've shared has been about self-love and taking care of yourself. But if you were to give people one piece of wisdom, what would that one nugget be?
Work on your self-worth. We all have issues with self-worth. And when we love our family and we say we want to be there for our family, but we don't take care of ourselves, that means, and this may be hard for some to hear, but that means that our low self-worth issues are bigger than our love for our family. So, if anything that we need to work on, it's focusing on that self-worth, because you're worthy. You do deserve all the best. It doesn't matter what happened to you in this lifetime. It doesn't matter. You can change everything, and that is very empowering.
That's beautiful. Well, thank you so much for being here again. I
Yeah.
really appreciate it. I know you're a busy lady and I appreciate your time.
Thanks
And
for having
listeners,
me.
I hope you enjoy Lex as much as I did. And like I said, we're going to have all the information in the show notes. and we will see you later. Thank
All
you.
right. Take care.
Thanks so much for listening to this conversation. If you enjoyed it and want more information on our guests and resources, please visit ilovemelab.com. And please, if you enjoyed this episode, remember to subscribe and share with a friend. Hey, there's more great episodes to come. So until next time.